So the other day, I got a comment on the last episode, What Happened to the Car Community, that caught my attention. The guy said something like this: Carcraft just isn't what it used to be. Standards are dropping, people are doing rattle can spray jobs and calling it a restoration. Nobody builds for craftsmanship anymore. It's all about going viral. All about the algorithm. Now look, I get where the frustration comes from. You look around today and it feels like everyone's chasing the next viral build or trending style. But here's the thing, I don't think that's the whole story. Because I've met a lot of builders, young and old, who still take pride in what they do. They just don't have a six-figure budget or a massive shop. And I think it's time we start talking about that middle ground, the space where craftsmanship and affordability actually meet. You don't need a Jay Leno style garage to be a car guy. All you need is a little bit of pride, effort, and grit. Let's be honest, craftsmanship has always been what separates a builder from a buyer. But somewhere along the line, that got confused with how much money you spend. You see all these big budget YouTube builds, every tool in the world, sponsors throwing parts and money left and right, shop lights that are even brighter than a hospital. And yeah, some of that work's impressive, but let's be real. It's not the only way to do it. Craftsmanship isn't about how much you can spend, it's about how much you care. I wanted to read that word for word of what I wrote there, because that is exactly what this episode is about. Craftsmanship over chasing a trend. Now, like I said, I had gotten a comment on the previous episode that really, I agreed with it, but there were parts of it that I wanted to touch on, to bring context to bring light to. So, I will give credit where credit is due. The comment was not wrong about one thing. The viral culture has definitely watered down the standard. You've got folks out there who are chasing likes, chasing views, but building things for clicks and not quality is a big problem. We've all seen it, a one-day restoration. I took this truck and I made it into this in one day restoration. But in reality, was that really a restoration? Or was that just making it appear as a restoration? Redefining the bar as, well, a restoration should only take you a day. When in reality, a restoration can take a minimum of 3 years. And really, it depends on the car and what your definition of restoration is. I can't tell you how many times when people have asked me what I do, and I tell them that I restore classic cars, they instantly go to the $50,000 car restoration. Shiny paint, perfect engine, transmission's been gone through, suspension is brand new, tires are brand new, the interior is flawless. It's as if even not better, if not better, than showroom quality. But that is simply not the case, because not every one of us has $100,000 just to throw around on projects. And I can guarantee you a lot of you listening don't have a $100,000 shop. So redefining the word restoration is also okay. Having different standards is okay. Making the standard unobtainable is not okay. What we don't want to be chasing is content culture. Content culture is that same thing that ruined Slammed Enough in Sevierville, Tennessee, or what's referred to as Gatlinburg. And so people going there to be viral, be within, be seen, be recognized, have the $50,000 car next to the $5,000 restoration, the $5,000 build, the budget build, the regular guy out there just trying to enjoy cars. And they go there and they do drag races, blow it out of the water, all because that's what gets the clicks. In the previous episode, I had talked about what happened to the car community. How has it changed? Well, big reason why it's changed is because of social media platforms, just like the one we're on right now, platforms like Instagram, Facebook, and TikTok, and people wanting to become big-time content creators. There's also content creators out there who are showing what they do, but maybe the things that they're doing shouldn't be looked up to. There are plenty of other individuals out there who are doing work that's better than what you see on the big million subscriber channels. Now, I have no room to talk because we're a pretty small channel here. I don't have a voice that can change anything, but you do. You have a voice. You have the ability to go out there and educate instead of ostracize. During the fallout of the Slammed Enough event, I saw plenty of videos being posted by people who had way more following than the garage does, and their voice really matters, who were saying they used to say that there's not enough young people in classic cars, but now they've switched gears and are saying that there's too many young people in classic cars, that we should be making cars less affordable. We should be making parts less affordable. We should be making things more restricted, more private events, more restriction, taking away the freedoms that we enjoy as part of this car community. And even at that, car community, the term car community really is restrictive. Even the term automotive community, which I've used many times in the past, because it's more than just cars. There are people out there with trucks. There are people out there with semi-trucks, tractors, all kinds of things that you wouldn't expect, motorcycles even. If it's got an engine and got wheels on it, in my book, you're part of the community. You're just one of the many subcultures that make this community great. So instead of coming out and saying that, well, because he didn't do a $50,000 SEMA quality Barrett Jackson car show restoration, then he's lesser than. And I can guarantee you that a good majority of these people who are going out there and doing this affordably, myself included, are putting a lot more effort and patience and time, their own soul, into these cars. It is said that cars have soul. But the only reason why cars have the soul is because we have given it to them. A car is an extension of ourselves, a representation of who we are as a person. Whether you're dumping a $50,000 restoration or a $500 restoration. A lot of people would say that that's not really a true restoration then. Well, how so? Because if you take a car that wasn't running, that was forgotten, and I'll use my own experiences as an analogy. You take a car that was sinking into the dirt, abandoned, forgotten, behind Grandpa's barn, or behind, the grain silo. Who knows the last time it ran? 30 years ago, and it was parked there. Why was it parked there? We don't remember. But then you're taking that classic, that old work truck, that old car, that old tractor, and you're excavating it out of where it's sitting, having to dig out the tires, get it loaded up on the trailer, go through and get rid of the bramble that's grown over it, right? You get it home, get it off the trailer, and there you go. There's this restoration project, this thing that has been sitting forgotten for years until you came along, and now you have the ability to make it something more than what it is right now. So you go through and you get the hose out and get a scrubbing brush and you start washing it down, and you start to realize that maybe this thing's not in such bad shape as it seemed. So you take the time and the effort, the weeks, maybe even months, depending on your time schedule, to bring back the paint color, the original patina, to shine it up, to make it look better than it was before. Therefore, you have gone through and done a restoration on something that was there before, something that was old. You have restored it from being what it was, faded out, covered in dust, mud, moss, scorched, sun-baked, what have you. And you've polished it, changed it. It's gone through a transformation period, and it's become better than it was before. Therefore, it was restored. You don't have it running yet, but you want to get it running. Yeah, maybe you should have gotten it running first before you made it shiny, but heck, who wants to work on something messy, right? So it's all cleaned up. You finally start getting to work on it. You take the carburetor apart. Oh my goodness, it's all lacquered up. The old gas is crystallized in there. So now, guess what you have to do? You have to rebuild that carburetor from the ground up. Take it all the way apart. Get all the crystallization out of it. Maybe there are some bolts that snapped, and now you're like, oh man, what am I going to do? Well, you go through and you re-drill the holes. You re-thread them. Find a bolt that fits. Maybe it's not the right one, but it's the one that's right now. And so then you've got that carburetor put back together and you put it on the rig. Still haven't tried to fire it up yet. You go through and you change the oil. Change the oil filter. You go through your last final checks. Maybe the fuel tank is just corroded and it needs a new one, or you just need to clean it. So you go through and you clean up the fuel tank, make it usable again. You fill it with gas, you pull the choke, you turn the key, and you fire it up for the first time in 30 years. Whatever you're working on now no longer looks anywhere close to what it looked like when you first brought it home. You're taking a look at pictures, you're sitting there thinking, man, when I first brought this thing home, it looked like a piece of junk. Something that should have been scrapped. But now, it looks like it's worth $50,000. So therefore, you have gone through and have put your elbow grease into a project, into a piece of history, been able to show what you can do, your craftsmanship on something, and restored it to better than it was. And that is where I have been using and reusing the term reviving. So when people sit there and they think, oh, well, when you tell me restored, I think $50,000 car. It's like, well, okay. If that's what you want to think, then that's all on you. That's your interpretation of what restored is to you. So what I'm doing is I'm reviving. I'm a revivalist of these old classic cars. But reviving and restoring is one and the same. It's 6 in one hand, half a dozen in the other. 20 cents for 5 apples and $1 for one, or $1 for a pack of however many. But it's the same thing, right? And so with people sitting there saying that you have to spend a whole ton of money is not accurate. It's easy to get lumped in the crowd just because you're working in your garage with using cheaper tools that you're not, well, no, you're inferior. You're inferior. Affordable doesn't mean inferior. Here's the truth. You can do professional quality work without professional level money. I have seen guys lay down a better rattle can paint job than shops with $1,000 spray guns. Why? Because they cared about the prep. They sanded, they layered, they polished. At that most recent car show that I had gone through, not the truck show, but the car show, the one in Walla Walla, there was all kinds of classic cars there that had fresh paint jobs, like they might have been a few months old. But there was very few of them that were orange peel free. And when I'm talking about orange peel, it looks like it's all ripply, looks like a scales on a fish, maybe even. Looks like an orange peel. If you look at an orange peel and you polish an orange peel and it's all shiny, but it's all like wobbly or rough looking, that's orange peel. But you've got all these cars out there that had orange peel. Whereas I've got this 1964 Chevy that you watched me paint with rattle can outside, no paint booth, no spray gun, just a rattle can that I got from the local hardware store, right? And it's got a perfect shiny finish that matches the same finish that's on the original paint on the fenders. How did I do that? My prep work. Sanding. Putting down a good layer of primer, using the right primer, fill primer. Then sanding that down, then layering it, getting it to not overdoing it, not putting so much paint on that you're basically adding 10 tons of paint, but enough paint that you've got room to play with. You've got room to sand it back down, to make it smooth, to sit there and take the time, the hours, the sore wrist, the cramping hand from sanding and polishing to make that shine come through. That right there is craftsmanship. And craftsmanship is not something you can buy. You will not ever find craftsmanship in your wallet. You'll find it in your hands, in your heart, in your dream that you had when you first saw that classic car and you went, oh man, this is what I can do to it. This is what I can share and I can be proud of because I did that. Now, I'm not saying that going and using a spray gun and a paint booth is perfect, easy, you're done, and you don't have to do some work to get orange peel out unless you get super lucky. But what I'm saying is all of that equipment together, not everybody has the ability to do that. So it's okay that maybe somebody rattle canned their car, rattle canned their truck. It's not the brand of paint that makes it shine, it's the hands that are holding the can. That's why I will be saying from now on, affordable doesn't mean half-baked. You can take pride in something that didn't cost you your paycheck. You can be proud of something that came from your garage, your time, and your creativity. People forget that some of the most legendary cars started in a garage. I'm not sure if you guys are familiar with Ford versus Ferrari, where one of the most expensive and fastest muscle cars of America were ever made. And I believe it was the Ford GT. Let me verify that. Yes, the Ford GT, a true supercar, but is now one of the most expensive cars in the world. Not the, but one of. It is a high-performance supercar, and it's not a traditional luxury car. There's no luxury about it. It is, in its conception, it was a death trap on the road. It was dangerous, but it was a dream. It was a craft. It was something that was born out of nothing and became one of the best cars, and became an automotive legend. It's a legend now. It's a legend, but it wasn't born out of money. Of course, money was used to make it happen, but it was born out of passion. If we make the car culture solely about money, we're going to kill it before it really even gets off. Because you got to think about car culture. You got to think about automotive culture. It's fairly new. We're in 2020 right now, the 2020s. In the 1920s, cars were a novelty. It was like, whoa, would you look at that? Before then, we had the 1914 Model A, Model Ts. That was, like, I don't know if you guys have ever seen the camera, like the what people used to do when they would see a camera back in those days, and they stare at it like they're staring through a window of time, which they exactly are. Like, I don't know if you're in the year 2148 and you're watching and listening to this, but right now, see what I mean? Back then, there was no car culture, there was no car community, it was just a car, and now we have that car community, and it's new. It's very new. Got to remember, classic cars were just used old cars that were pretty affordable to pick up and pretty cheap to maintain and fix. And as time has gone on, I mean, you go and look at a 1996 Jeep Cherokee. They made it's the first true SUV. They made over 1 million of them. It was one of the most favorite cars for American day-to-day drivers, for the working class. But it's also a renowned 4x4 and now a collector vehicle. Especially the two-door versions. The two-door Laredo is a collector vehicle now. And the Wagoneer, another special edition that is basically a Jeep Cherokee, but it is now a collector vehicle, and they're 1980s, 1990s. Back then, they were just a used car, but now they're sought after. And so, the next generation's already struggling to afford old iron. Because the cars of yesterday that were affordable are now cars that are sought after and really expensive. And I covered that in a recent episode. I think it was episode 2 of the podcast, or episode 1 of the podcast. It's one of those two. Does the classic car still exist? Does the affordable classic car still exist for the average person? And yes, it does. You just have to be patient and know where to look. And I am living proof of that. But so, like I said, the next generation's already struggling to afford old iron. Tools, even, are getting more expensive. I mean, I remember when you used to be able to go to Harbor Freight. Harbor Freight. Yeah, it had its own, like, oh, you're getting a Harbor Freight tool. But they were good tools. They weren't bad. And now people have figured out how good Harbor Freight tools are and how decent they are and how much more affordable they are in comparison to Matco, Snap-on, the Snap-on knockoff. Oh, shoot, I can't remember what it is. It's blue something or other. I'm sure you guys can type down in the comments what that is. It's totally skipping my head right now. But those tools are made in Taiwan, just like a lot of Harbor Freight tools. But it's all because of the name. And it's like Carlisle, Napa tools. They're expensive as well. I went to Napa the other day, and I was like, wow, I remember when those used to be like, oh man, I just need to go grab a quick couple wrenches real quick because I accidentally broke one, you know? But now you can't do that anymore. Husky tools as well. The Home Depot brand of tools. Milwaukee tools. Everything. Craftsman tools. Craftsman tools, they died out. They disappeared. But now they're making a comeback. And now even they are more expensive than Harbor Freight tools. And like I said, Icon, Pittsburgh, those are Harbor Freight tools. And Quinn as well is another Harbor Freight brand tool. But you go to Harbor Freight now, and I'm looking at the prices going, holy cow. I remember 5 years ago when it's like, you're going to go buy Harbor Freight tools? Well, you're going to be buying another set by the end of the week. But now they're actually pretty good quality, and people have figured that out. Garage space. Going out and being able to afford a place to work. I consider myself extremely blessed and very lucky with the shop space that I have. It is by no means a $50,000, $100,000 shop. It is just a little 2-bay garage off the house. But that is perfect for anyone that needs to do anything, and honestly more than what you would really need. A buddy of mine who doesn't have a garage at all, he had a carport, gravel ground, and a tarp to keep the wind out. That was it. And now he's built it over the years into an actual decent shop that's insulated, that actually is able to be heated. The garage is not able to be heated. That thing only has a 15 amp fuse that controls everything in there. So having a heat, and we don't have a stove in there either, but he has the ability to do what he needs to do. And that is just over time, by building, by being patient, and by being smart with your money. Budget building, being affordable. And affordability, like I said, is not inferior. So when we start acting like the $100,000 builds are the only things that count, we're telling more than half of the community that they don't belong. People like me don't belong. People like your granddad who shared the craft with you when he'd ask you to come out and help him work on old cars, right? That little thing you guys used to do. And, walking into Grandpa's barn. That is something that a lot of people my age will never be able to experience. a lot of people who are growing up, because a lot of these granddads who had the old dusty barn, the old shop, the tack room that he turned into a shop, a wood shop or whatever, were veterans. After the war, they had to have something to do. They had to have a hobby, something to keep moving, something to keep their mind off of it. And so a lot of them would delve into cars, and that is where the car community started. If you have ever sat there and asked, why do Jeep owners wave at each other with like the two fingers, or just a wave in general? That all started after World War II, when the guys came back home. Some of them decided to keep their Jeeps and were able to keep their Jeeps. And so the Jeeps that they were driving around, they'd see another guy. That was a wave to them as a driver to a driver, wartime. And a lot of times that little two fingers is the V for victory. And so that's where a community, a car community, truly got rooted in. Deep root community that still exists today. Now that community has changed exponentially. I don't know a single person around here where I'm at who hasn't had a Jeep. And I live in a major Toyota area. Toyotas are a way of life here. That is what they do. But Granddad, we'd all hop in the Jeep and go check cows. We'd go out there and mend the fence with it. We'd haul the logs that we'd go cut out of the ditch with them. We'd go hunting with it. Maybe we'd do a little bit of off-roading and get in trouble. But it was a thing that people did. And so the granddad's shop mentality, unfortunately, is leaving. And that was all affordability. You didn't see Granddad going out there with a spray, air compressor, spray booth, spraying it all up. A lot of times it was a paintbrush and paint it on and then sand it back down. So, we're not doing that anymore. We've got technology now, which is using a rattle can paint job. And rattle can paint jobs are not bad. And that affordability is not bad. There's nothing wrong with that. It's like there's a way to lower a car without having to spend money on a suspension. This is an old thing. You can't really do this today, but if you could, it might work. But what would end up happening is you get your oxyacetylene torch and you'd heat up the springs, coilover. This would only work on coilovers. Heat up the coilover springs until the car started to sag down, right? And then once when you got to the point where you wanted it, you'd stop heating it red hot, and that metal would cool, and there you go. You've now lowered your car. A very cheap and affordable way to lower a car, by the way. That's kind of how the Chevy is. The Chevy had the same situation happen with it. That's why it sits lower than stock, which honestly gives it a nice ride and a very cool style. But it's the wrong message to say and start acting that $50,000 to $100,000 cars are the only thing, or builds are the only thing that counts. It's the wrong message, because car culture is supposed to be inclusive. It's not supposed to be about competition solely. It's about creativity. Now, healthy competition is always good. But this, I'm better than you because I spent more money mentality is not good at all. Not everybody has the ability to make their cars SEMA show quality. That's why there's a thing called SEMA show, because SEMA show is for the best of the best. That's what it was about. Now, standards are being changed. They are being lowered to accept more of maybe a bit more half-baked build. And that's where the problem is lying, because you've got more people that are putting in a lot of effort and craftsmanship to make a beautiful car, and then whatever that is, that half-baked Amazon rattle can, I don't know what in the heck, there's just no effort whatsoever in it coming to a show like that. That can be pretty like, well dang, so I go through and I go and work this hard and I've got this much money into it, but This over here, this jalopy is getting first place, but it's not about getting first place. But that's all. I'm just saying that's why there was things like SEMA Show, because that was the best of the best, to share off the best craftsmanship that there was, not who had the most views on a car, right? Who got the most subscribers from a car. I've seen a high school kid rebuild a carburetor in his driveway and light up with pride when it finally fired. I am that high school kid. I was that high school kid who was a gearhead, who would sit there and take something that wasn't running at all, take the carburetor apart, put it back together, and just see if it would start. What if? What if it would? And then when it did, the amount of joy that would fill my little spirit, that is what kept me going forward through wanting to go and base my entire education off of making a career on classic cars and trucks and everything that we're talking about in general. Because you couldn't get that by spending money. You know, a lot of people get a high off of spending money because they can flaunt their stuff around and show, oh, look at me, I've got the new Porsche 911 Turbo, whatever. I've got a Knitseg, I'm cooler than you. Or I'm just I'm a farm kid, and I took Grandpa's old truck that's been sitting out in the pasture for 20 some years since I was born, and I got it running, and now I'm driving it back and forth to school. That's something I did. I didn't buy it. Granddad passed it down to me, and I remember him telling me stories about how when him and my parent would go out and they do this and do that, or they went and drove across this, and I had to ride in the middle, or like Volkswagens. Volkswagens is a grand example, because I don't know if I know anybody in the United States who hasn't ridden or had a parent or a grandparent who has ridden in a Volkswagen. And those stories where the entire family of five people, 2 parents and 3 children, would all stuff themselves in a little Volkswagen Bug and go drive across the country. Those are stories I get all the time when I drive my Bugs around. And so there's history there. There's a story there. And that right there, I feel like, is what really is the culture. And being able to bring these things back affordably just makes it so much better. The moment that matters is when you have that joy of doing something yourself. The craftsmanship in making the thing spark, to making the thing fire up, to making it look better than it was before is what really makes the world go round for car guys like me. I don't know how you guys feel. That was just kind of like my own little jaunt off. I do have a thing here that I want to get out to you, because I'm seeing the way things are going, and the change that is happening to the automotive community is going in a direction to where only the rich and famous will be able to have classic cars. So with that, let's talk about raising standards. Raising the bar without raising the budget. Number 1, like I said before, prep work. No matter what you're doing, painting, rebuilding, welding, 80% of quality comes from the prep. Comes from how much you put into it before you reach your finished product. So I'm going to go off topic a little bit here. Well, on topic, but on a segue again. Built, not bought. That has a lot of different definitions for a lot of different people. So when I think of built, not bought, I think of I've taken something that was stock, needed some serious repair, what have you. And I have taken the time, 3 years, 3 months, whatever time it might be, 10 years, who knows. True projects are never ever over. You keep finding stuff to add, you keep finding stuff that needs to be fixed, you keep finding ways to improve it. And so you've got this building section here, and then you have your finished product that's built, not bought. Whereas other people, they will go out and go, well, I bought the car, it was stock, and I paid for all the parts, and then I paid somebody else to put all the parts on. So I didn't buy the car like that. I had to have it built. So therefore, it's built, not bought. But in reality, that's more of bought instead of built because you didn't actually do the work. It is so important to do the work yourself because that is where you get the respect for the vehicle. I can't tell you how many times I see people that are given things and there's no respect for it. They'll go out and thrash on it, trash it, and I don't care. I didn't have to pay for it. I was just given it. I didn't build it. Oh, I broke it. Yeah, I've got plenty of money. I can fix it. I can just have somebody fix it for me. That's the wrong mentality. It's about having respect for the machine, and that is what we're losing right now. The car culture is dwindling away because society is trying to turn cars into just a tool. I can't tell you how many times I come across comments where people are like, I don't know why you're getting so upset, all bent out of shape over a car. All it is a tool to get from A to B. If that's what you think a car is, then I'm sad that you have not experienced what I've been able to experience. And I can only hope by what I'm doing here that maybe I can share why I love classic cars, why I love cars in general. It doesn't matter if it's a classic one. I like JDM cars. I think they are super neat. I'd love to build one, but I'd have my own classic twist on it. I'd probably build mine out of a classic Volkswagen because I saw one and I thought it was just super cool. And I've got ample amounts of buddies who are into drift cars. But the amount of craftsmanship that they're putting into this, the amount of thought process of, well, I have to have this roll cage set up like this because if I don't have it set up like that, I can't fit this in here and I have to be able to fit that. And then, there's a little personality things that they put in there. A lot of anime stickers. If you've ever been in anywhere near drift stance or any of those kind of lowered cars, there's always some kind of Japanese influence. Obviously, since they're JDM. JDM stands for Japanese Domestic Market. So you've got that. But I have an appreciation for that. And having an appreciation for multiple different kinds of cars is 100% okay. And so you need to have that respect. You need to build it. You need to put it together yourself. You need to know every nook and cranny, every bolt, every little bit. It's like if you have to change your own oil, instead of just taking it to the dealership or to Jiffy Lube or Walmart and having someone else change your oil, if you change your oil, you're going to be thinking about that a little bit more. You're going to be, well, I probably shouldn't do this and this and this because I haven't changed my oil in a while and I don't want to hurt my engine, because if I don't change my oil, I'm going to add more wear and tear to my engine, which is going to lessen the life of my car. If you've ever had to replace your own brakes, you sit there and you go through the effort of replacing your brakes and you find out, well, shoot, now I got to replace the wheel bearing because the wheel bearing was loose. And then before you know it, you're tearing into something and you're replacing all these parts. But then at the end of the day, you're driving, or end of however long it takes you, you're driving the car, you think in your head, you can see, you can visualize what you've done, where things are at, how things are sitting, and almost envision and anticipate the wear, how long it's going to take. So, raising standards, I'm all for that. But here's how you do it without raising your spending. Now, I'm skipping right over that because I will continue to talk about built not bought forever. We probably make a whole other episode on it. But I gotten through number one, the prep work. No matter what you're doing, 80% comes from the prep. Number two is patience. Don't rush. Rushing ruins craftsmanship. You've got your car. You're doing the built not bought thing. See, right back to it. Like I said, we could probably make an entire episode just on built not bought itself. But if you rush what you're doing, you're going to make mistakes. And I have a personal story about that, and I will tell you the summed up version. I had a 1990 Jeep Cherokee. I was majorly into lifting cars. This was back when I was in high school. Actually, no, I had just gotten out of college. I had gotten it when I graduated back in 2022. No, 2020. When I graduated in 2020, I got it right before I went to college. And so I went through and I started building it. I had lifted it. I had done the paint work on it. It was a beautiful Jeep. If I have a picture of it, I will post it over here somewhere. But it was a beautiful car. At least for me. I thought it was amazing. It was a Laredo. It was a 2-door. I had picked it up for $400, and it had some issues here and there, but I made a major mistake. Instead of doing something right, I cut a corner, and I was impatient. I just wanted to drive the darn car. I wanted to drive it. I had been working on it. I had been doing all this work to make it run again and to make it drivable. And I was like, man, I just want to drive it. I want to drive it. I want to drive it. So instead of getting a new knuckle, which is the steering component on the side where your hub connects to, where the spindle is on some cars, instead of getting a new one of those, I decided I'd weld the part where the steering bar connects to it, right? I'm showing you how it moves because I'm at a loss for words right now. But I had welded a part that had busted off on it. Instead of welding, cast iron can be done, but you have to do it carefully, and I was impatient. So I was just welding it for now. I'd replace it later. But as time went on, I forgot about it, and I was going up one of the back roads, and it broke. And I rolled the Jeep. It destroyed it. And that right there is what happens when you rush. It ruins craftsmanship. So all of that work I had put into the car was gone. Completely gone. A lot of times that can make or break. That can make someone totally give up doing anything that has to do with anything to do with that. But I always believe what doesn't kill you makes you stronger. And I have that experience that I learned from. And now I'm passing on that knowledge. If you've ever done something to cut a corner, stop right now. Go back. Fix it right. Find the affordable option. I get that. But sometimes you do have to spend some money to save yourself in the long run. And so, number 2 is patience. And honestly, patience should be on its own scale because you have to have patience. Number 3, take pride even if nobody's watching. Nobody's going to see the little scuff that you made. Nobody's going to see this bad spot. They're going to see a perfect car. While you're seeing all the imperfections, they're going to be looking at it going, wow. So just take pride in it. Take pride in what you've done, because odds are people are looking at it and they're going, holy cow, that's amazing. While you're sitting there going, oh my God, don't look at it. You might not be filming it for YouTube, but you know what you did. And that pride shows in the result. That's how you raise the bar without raising your budget. At the end of the day, this isn't a rich guy's hobby. It's a working man's craft. You don't need a paint booth, a camera crew, or 10 grand in chrome and a real car to be a real car guy. You need love for the machine and the willingness to do things right, even when nobody's watching. So yeah, standards do matter. Craftsmanship matters. But money doesn't define either of those. Because a clean rattle can job done right still beats a lazy spray gun job. I will always stand by that, because I have seen some jobs that are just... I get made fun of for doing spray can work while their paint booth work has orange peel and runs, and just, it doesn't look good, right? But I took the time because I knew I was using spray can. I needed to be a bit more careful. I needed more prep work. I needed more work at the end to make it look the way it does and how nice it looks. But I'm going to cut this episode short because I just want you to really think about affordability versus flash. Craftsmanship, taking your time, being patient, and dogging on people's builds because they just didn't have much money as you did. That's not cool. That's not cool at all. We're about a community here. We're about sharing a craft. We're about sharing what we can do together as a community. And maybe one guy's build isn't as good as the other guy's build, but maybe that's what they could do with what they had. That's as good as they could provide with the position that they were in. And it's the effort that counts, not how much money it can be sold for. And there's flippers out there that buy and flip, and they have it has to be like this. Nope, it has to be like this. But in reality, it's all about what makes you happy. Do you get joy when you hop behind the wheel? You go and drive around, get joy when you come and see it? Yeah, there's things that you still want to fix and get done, but there's also the joy in what can happen next with it. And there's nothing that's going to hurt you than gaining more knowledge. The mistakes you make, the wins you have, the setbacks, they're all just adding more tools to your toolbox. And on that note, I want to thank you all for tuning into the TGR Podcast today and for sticking around, sitting back and having a chat. I want you guys to put your thoughts in the comments below. New topic ideas in the comments below as well. I give you the ability to direct the TGR Podcast. Unlike any other podcast that's out there who are completely scripted, wow, I had a cheat sheet. You have the ability to direct the show. So put topic ideas down in the comments below, and I will go through and research them, and we'll talk about them right here. So try to keep them automotive related, but wherever the conversation takes us is wherever the conversation takes us, because after all, this is shop talk. And whatever we talk about in the garage stays in the garage, right? I'm kidding. Anyway, I will see you all right back here at the garage in the next video, where maybe we'll be working on some new projects and we'll be checking out how well we can get things done. Make sure you like and subscribe, and I will see you all right back here at the garage in the next video. Thanks for watching.